20 years ago, I was still living at my parents' house, and I remember the night before watching television in my room. And the television in the room at that time, it had the old rabbit ears on the television. We didn't have cable in my bedroom. So I remember the night before, the TV was clear as a bell. And I forgot what TV show I was watching. But then the next morning I woke up and I turned the TV back on again, and the TV this time was very fuzzy. And the TV was coming in and out. It showed the plane, the first plane crash into the building. And it took me a second to process what had just happened. And it didn't make sense, and it's something that's not supposed to happen. So it's almost like telling somebody the color blue is a different color, or telling somebody the sky is red. It's just not something that's true. So after I kind of comprehended what was going on, I went out to the living room, and the living room had cable. And I remember my sister sitting on the couch, and she was watching something else on the TV. And I said, a plane just hit the World Trade Center. And she was, what are you talking about? And we changed the channel to a clear station, and it took a second again to figure out what was going on. And then when we were watching it, the second plane hit the second tower, and this isn't right. Something's not right here. And then on the bottom of the screen, it was scrolling like a ticker tape that said, all first responders respond into your closest station. So I have to go.
During 9/11, I was working. I was coming off of a night tour. I had gotten hired to work for the day tour, so I just came off a 15-hour shift, and I was going to work overtime to work a 9-hour tour. And so when I came downstairs in the morning, the officer told me that I was hired and I was going to work the next shift. And some of the incoming people for the day tour was coming in. And so I was in a house watch and looking to see where I was going to be working that day, and I was told that I was going to be working in 105 truck, which is the truck that I'm in with engine 219. The person that was coming in during the day, John Chapora, he asked me could he switch places with me because I was assigned to work in 105 that day. And I told him sure, because he wanted to get more truck experience, and I knew that he was putting his transfer papers in to work in the truck. I swapped with him in the tour, and then I decided to start to prepare the rig for the next tour that I was working. So during that time, as I was checking the rig, a lot of the guys in the kitchen were gathered together because we were swapping tours. So some of the night people were going home and the day people were coming in. Some of them saw the plane going into the building, and so there was a lot of commotion and a lot of noise. I went into the kitchen to see what was going on, and I thought they were watching like a movie because I couldn't really tell or process what was happening. And then you can hear the TV news broadcaster saying that a plane just went into the building of 9/11. So I was at work during that morning just really trying to process everything that happened.
It's really hard to believe it's already 20 years. I mean, it really feels like it's yesterday. I think to most of us who were a part of this, that day is always going to be like yesterday. I was an instructor at the EMS Academy for FDNY. I was on a job for about 10 years at that point, and I was teaching at the academy. We had a full building of students that were coming in and doing their courses to maintain their certification. So we teach all of our own EMTs and paramedics at the academy. So we were doing that, and it was a beautiful day. You know, it was just a day like any other day. And we were in the classroom, we were practicing some skills, and we hear that a plane hit the World Trade Center. And we just automatically, thought maybe it's a small, Cessna or something small. Couldn't be anything serious, And we all found ourselves to the televisions that were on and reporting this out, understanding that we're all first responders. So we have a building multiple buildings actually filled with first responders who are all prepared to respond even while they're in training. So we wanted to get a sense of what was going on, and we ran to the televisions to see what was happening. And it was just unbelievable that we saw that it was a commercial plane, a regular passenger plane that had hit the tower. And we all thought, this is a terrible accident. This is just something, how tragic is this? And what is this gonna mean for us? But, we're in a city with very large buildings, and sometimes, things like this can happen. It was a very short time later that we found out that it was not an accident. And, the second plane had hit the other tower. And then we started getting reports about other areas of the country. It was just a moment of, it couldn't be true. Like, this just couldn't be true. Like, the twins, we called it, right? The twins had stood over us strong for my entire lifetime, as long as I remember it. They were part of our skyline and just part of our everyday. And here they are, being attacked by commercial planes filled with people. It was just an unbelievable day. But at that moment, we knew that we were going to have to respond, that this was going to be a major event for EMS, as a medical team, right? So we were definitely going to have some work to do, and we started to put the pieces in place at the academy to get everybody mobilized.
I was off duty. I was working my side job. Was a body and fender at a shop in Staten Island. So I was working on the cars, and first I get a delivery. First guy comes in and says, he goes, "You see a plane hit the World Trade Center?" So I'm on the Staten Island side of the Goethals Bridge, right across is Linden Airport, just making an assumption that it was, a little small Cessna or somebody, And then about a half hour later, I got a second delivery, and the guy's like, "Did you see?" So I'm like, from the position of the shop, I couldn't see, but a short ride down to the water, and I seen the black plume. And I'm like, that's so, make a couple phone calls. I hear FDNY has a total recall, which I think there's only been a couple in the history of the department where they called all off-duty members to come back in. I had gotten promoted a year before to lieutenant and then sent to the academy as an instructor. So happened to have my turnout gear with me because on the weekends we had the opportunity to work overtime in the field. So we drove to Rescue 5 at Division 8 is down in the northern part of Staten Island, and they had buses there where they were loading guys up on the bus. You would they had everybody sign a journal. This way they had some kind of record of who was there. And then we took the ferry across. As we were coming across, the second tower came down, I saw it. So there was a priest on the ferry who was giving general absolution to people, which, was a little unnerving. I mean, first time in my life that ever happened. Unfortunately, a few guys that I went over with subsequently passed later on from World Trade Center related sickness. So I remember when the priest is giving general absolution, I go, "Father, Billy wants to know if we make it out of this, is this good forever? We're good, we're covered, So just a little humor to try and lighten things up. But so as we landed, the ferry docked, and was basically everything was covered with ash, it looked like snow. We made our way up to the World Trade Center. There was a couple of chiefs that were trying to organize, a plan of attack. They were trying to, if you were assigned to an engine company, you were lining up here, you were assigned to a truck company over here, and then they were going to begin attack. But, they were trying to do what they could do. Guys were waiting online, and then after a while, guys got a little impatient, and guys kind of broke off to do whatever they could do. You know what I mean? I remember, meeting up with some guys from my old firehouse, and we had made our way over by the Deutsche Bank. We were trying to put whatever fire you could go out or assist anybody, anything that you could do. Unfortunately, when the towers crashed, I think it damaged the infrastructure of the water. They didn't have proper water pressure coming from the hydrant, so eventually what they had to do is they had the marine units draft water from the Hudson River and then supply companies, which took some time.
The morning of September 11th, I was up at the Fire Academy. I've been an instructor up there for years, and I actually taught Proby School, which is the new recruits. Approximately 2 weeks before 9/11, that class had graduated. So we had a lull in between the incoming class coming in. So the instructors were there, and we're getting our equipment and our manuals all ready to reset for the next crew to come in. So basically the academy was nothing but instructors up there that day. When 9/11 hit, we heard it on the radio, we looked out the windows, we saw it in the sky. I ran down to one of the buildings at the academy, which is called Mass Service. They restock and refill the cylinders, the air packs, for the entire job. So I ran down there and I asked the officer, I said, is there anything I can do to help you right now? And he said, take that truck over there, it's already loaded with full cylinders, take it down to ground zero. I said, all right, let me tell my boss where I'm at. Ran back, 2 minutes later, went to get that truck was gone. Somebody else took it, they couldn't wait. So we loaded up our spare rigs that we have at the academy, got all our equipment available, anything we can grab, we threw on the rigs, and we went screaming down the FDR with training academy rigs, if you will, loaded and staffed with instructors. When we pulled up, stepped out of the rig, looked down the block, basically it was all a cloud of concrete dust at that point. The first tower basically just came down, and when you look down the block, the only thing you basically noticed was any type of paper flying through the air. As the towers came down, the air curtain created pretty much a wave of air, and all the papers were just floating through the air. And it was totally eerie as far as the amount of silence that was there. It turned out to be a long day. I looked later on down the block and saw that vehicle I was supposed to be driving, somebody else took it in my place. And then when I did get down there, approximately maybe half hour, 45 minutes later, I looked down the block and there was that rig flatter than a pancake, crushed.